back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman coming to you on Tuesday, August 13th. This is a bit of a smorgasbord of an episode, lots of different Rutgers topics to cover. This episode, once again, is brought to you by Knights of the Raritan, the Rutgers NIL Collective. Click on the link to their free newsletter in the description of this episode to sign up. You get updates on Rutgers athletics. You get updates on Knights of the Raritan activities that are upcoming with the school year about to start, and find out more how to become a member to donate and contribute NIL to Rutgers student athletes. Wanted to cover some hoops, some football, some baseball. What else do I have? Women's soccer. There's a lot of things going on now. We're now in the middle of August. Rutgers training camp in its third week. Hoops is now done with its summer workouts, 8 weeks completed. And women's soccer is going to kick off on Thursday. And also former Rutgers baseball players that are now professionals are starting their careers. So let's get into it. First off, happy birthday to Ace Bailey, turned 18 today. Unbelievable. Just in terms of when you think about his projections as an NBA draft pick, lottery pick, potential number one pick, age is always part of it with NBA scouts and how organizations look at it. And the fact that he just turned 18 is pretty remarkable. Now, I know the flip side of that is, oh, well, he's a young freshman. You know, how much can he really dominate, lead, be a standout Big Ten player? Well, that's a conversation that won't be settled until the season starts. But just in terms of pure ability, talent, he is an elite player. And my point to saying this is, if you didn't recently see it, Rutgers men's basketball, they have a new podcast. Jeremiah Williams is the host. He's very good. And they just released the other day their podcast episode with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. And it's must watch. I think what struck to me was just how down to earth both of them came across and maturity in terms of their approach. You know, they did not come across to me like the number 2 and number 3 prospects in the 24 class, guys that are projected to be top 10 picks a year from now, less than a year from now. They just came across as real, authentic. They love hoops. They were just talking hoops. They were talking about their favorite NBA players. They were talking about how they decided to come to Rutgers. They talked about their friendship and almost rivalry in high school and how they were trying to one-up each other all the time. And they were talking about the City of Palms Classic and also playing at the rack and as high school players, their love for Rutgers and their excitement for playing in the rack. It was just a very free-flowing, natural conversation. Jay Well was great as the host. They shared experiences and high school careers and just hopes and growing up in basketball. Ace Bailey's mother played. They were talking about that. And obviously Dylan Harper's experience with his family. It was just great to see. It was good to get to know them a little bit more as people. And Rutgers is doing a great job, Rutgers basketball, in terms of producing this podcast. So check it out. It was already like 16,000 views on YouTube when I watched it last night. But you should definitely check it out. But my point is, with Bailey just turning 18, you know, Harper, obviously a true freshman as well. They're not your normal freshmen. They're not your normal talents. And they're not normal in the sense of they seem to they're grasping the moment. They're grasping their potential. And just in terms of talking about the work ethic they need to have, you know, Dylan, just being humble in terms of admitting that the strength and conditioning program, his first lift, they were talking about the weightlifting with David Van Dyke, who's been with Rutgers, and Steve Peichel at Rutgers this whole time and was with him with Stony Brook as well. Just in terms of being humbled by how hard it was. You know, those are things that you don't say in a podcast if you have a out of control ego, if you think you're bigger than the program, if you think you're bigger than the place you're at. They just came across as genuine and extremely likable. And I thought it was great. And it just leads to my thought now that the team is on break. They come back in September. You know, Dylan, as I said in my observations of practice, I mean, he's a full go. They were holding him out of contact, precautionary, but he's chomping at the bit. Tyson Acuff will be ready in September per Steve Peichel, and that's what it sounded like when I was there. So this team's going to come back in September and they seem very focused and understanding of what's in front of them, what they need to do. And I think the maturity of this team is going to stand out. I think the leadership, obviously, with Jay Will, Zach Martini. I talked about PJ Hayes, how he looked in practice in terms of from a leadership standpoint. And then it's going to come from the maturity of their stars, right? Ace and Dylan. And I also highlighted that when I left practice and everyone else was gone, they were still on the court with J. Mike and taking shots. And that's what it's going to take. Leadership, maturity, your stars putting in the work, this team putting in the work. And I think they're going to be an extremely likable group. I'm excited for Rutgers fans to see them in action. I think the personalities are blending, the skill sets, and it all remains to be seen. As I said in my practice recap, if you didn't see it, but the potential for this group to be special, I truly believe it's there. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but all the signs are adding up in a positive way so far. And I just thought watching that podcast and Ace turning 18 today and just Harper and Ace, just in terms of their rapport, their bond, and there's urgency there from everyone. I talked about Pikel's urgency in practice. It's exciting. And watch the pod. It's a great one. And I just thought in terms of getting to know their personalities and their style and their love for basketball. And again, Shiano always talks about with football, which we're going to transition to in a second. He wants players that love football. Pikel's always talked about gym rats, wanting guys that want to be in the gym, constantly working. And that's what makes great players, not just talent. And Ace and Dylan very much seem like elite talents that know the work they have to put in. Part of that is their background, right? Especially Dylan with his family and his brother, his father, his mother. It's exciting in terms of the type of people and talent and the type of people we know Pikel brings into the program and the culture. It's just, there's a lot of opportunity. I'll end Hoops Talk with Joe Lenardi with another way too early bracketology out, putting Rutgers as one of the last 4 buys and has them as a 10 seed in the East region, playing Memphis in the first round and a potential second round matchup with Duke. I've talked about my, fantasy dream of Rutgers playing Duke at the Prudential Center in the Sweet 16, whether it's a 1-4 seed or who cares what the seeds are. I feel like I want it to be destiny. And it's just kind of ironic that Joe Lenardi puts them in that bracket. Again, yes, don't take it too seriously. We're just having fun here, right? The way too early bracketology, it makes no sense. But let's just go with it, right? And I think Rutgers can certainly be better than a 10 seed. I think they will be. And we're getting close. We're getting close, but we're a lot closer with football. And Mohamed Toure named to the Butkus Award Watch List today. Again, he did not play in the first scrimmage. Shiano talking about, I recapped some of Shiano's thoughts after the first scrimmage this past weekend on Monday's episode. And but it sounds like Toure is very much in line. There's nothing serious there. And Toure obviously is so important. I think he was MVP of the defense last year, and they obviously need him. But I think he's got a chance to make some noise with that Butkus Award Watch List. He could be a semifinalist, a finalist. I really believe that in his ability to take the next step as a player this year. So that's exciting. No more real updates. They'll have the second scrimmage this coming Saturday. Shiano will meet with the media once again then. I know the media is getting some player interviews this week, so look out for content from other sites there. And then also some news, Chase Linton, the 4-star commit for Rutgers, with the 24/7 Sports now picking up a 4-star across rivals. And he recently earned an offer from his home state, University of Georgia. There's been some chatter there, some concern from fans. Of course, when Georgia offers one of your commits, first of all, it's a positive, right? Rutgers was in on him early, and he wasn't even rated when they offered him, I believe. And now Brandon Kyle, another Georgia commit, picked up a Georgia offer. So Rutgers is going to put in the work to keep these guys. And it just places more importance on this season and showing results. But I think we have to put down the victim complex and listen, they may lose them to Georgia, but they may not. And they haven't yet. And all accounts sounds like Linton, is focused on his season and Rutgers is going to do everything they can. If they convince him to come, they're going to do everything they can to actually get him to come. And I say be optimistic that that's going to happen. I think that will be another step in the change in perception, the change in recruiting, when Rutgers not only gets a kid out of Georgia that they ultimately offer, but they retain him. And I believe it's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. We got a long way to go to early signing period, but don't just throw your hands up and go, oh, woe is us. Georgia's going to steal the kid. Maybe they get Linton. Maybe they don't. Maybe they get Kyle. Maybe they don't. But you got to believe in the relationships that Rutgers is building and the success they're showing. And again, you want guys that want to be here, and those guys want to be here. Until that changes, don't be pessimistic. Don't be negative. Rutgers is going into Georgia and getting top talent, and believe it's going to happen. Mention the pro debut of Rutgers baseball star Josh Kuroda-Grauer, Big Ten Player of the Year, with the Stockton Ports single A affiliate with the Oakland Athletics, fresh off being drafted in the second round recently, and he had 3 hits and 3 runs in his debut. So good news for him. Great start to him. Best of luck in his pro career. We'll be following him all the way through, and I expect big things from him. I think he's going to have a great career in front of him, and he had a great career at Rutgers, and Rutgers fans should certainly continue to pay attention to him. And then the Big Ten naming 3 players to watch for Rutgers women's soccer on Tuesday. No surprises there in terms of Emily Mason, Riley Tiernan, and Cassidy Banks, 3 seniors, 3 veterans, 3 multi-year starters. I had Emily Mason on the pod last week. Check that out. It was a great interview in terms of just the senior class and expectations for this program. Always has championship expectations and what they hope to accomplish this year. Not ranked in the preseason polls. Big Ten's going to be a lot harder. USC, UCLA are going to be really good. But we'll keep updating you on Olympic sports throughout the fall and obviously the entire school year. But in terms of Rutgers women's soccer, the most consistently successful program at Rutgers over the last decade plus, 12 consecutive NCAA tournaments. They kick off Thursday at NJIT, their 2024 season. Mason, Tiernan, Banks, expect big things from this team. They have a chance to make a run here in late November, like we're accustomed to with this group. I think they're going to go down swinging, and I'm excited to see them in action. And we'll have plenty more the rest of this week. I have some football episodes coming out, some guests, some preview action planned for the following week as well as leading up to game week. So a lot of things going on here. Very excited. Hope you continue to follow along the journey here as we're about to kick off what we hope is a super exciting 24-25 season school year for Rutgers Athletics. Stay tuned here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and thank you so much for listening once again.